Hello and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with me, Michael Jex, the tea drinking author, with a wonderful cup of most delicious tea. What more can I say? Well, what I could say is, if you like this video and all that sort of good old nonsense, then hit the like and subscribe and the other stuff. But what am I talking about today? I'm talking about this thing again. Now, I acquired my first one of these about 10 years ago, and I was very impressed. I was sent it by Astro House because I told them I run this website called Writerly Witterings and I would like to have a look at a Freewrite. Would it be possible to borrow one for a few weeks? Here we go. Nice little felt sleeve. The felt sleeve looked an awful lot better before we bought our Bernese Mountain Dog, because it used to have a flap that went right over the top and it was stitched in leather. It was really rather lovely until the dog ate it. But still, she didn't eat the Freewrite itself. This isn't my first Freewrite. This is my second. My first one was exactly the same in appearance. It was an old-fashioned typewriter, and I got it to be able to test it out for some weeks, and Astro House wrote to me and said, yes, you can borrow it for 2 weeks and then please send it back. And I was in the middle of editing a book at the time, so I said, well, that won't give me anything like enough time. I need it for at least a month and then I'll send it back. And they said, that's fine, keep it for a month. So I had this thing arrive. I started playing with it, and within 10 days I contacted Freewrite again and said, how much do I have to pay to keep it? And they gave me a little bit of a discount. I think they got 5 or 10% discount, but nothing more. And I loved it. I loved it for years and years. And in fact, the only issue I ever had with it was that I got a new power cable and I plugged it into my wall socket to charge the Freewrite and it wouldn't charge. Pardon me. On the back here there's a little white hole you might be able to just see, and it's a white LED, and you can see when it's charging it just flashes. And when I plugged it into this new socket, it went flash. It was absolutely potty. So in the end, I got this new Freewrite to replace it. And I plugged this into the same socket using the same cable. And the charging light went flash. And that's because, being an idiot, I was plugging it into a socket that was actually too powerful for the Freewrite. Put them both into a slightly slower socket and they were fine. They worked brilliantly. So I've given my other Freewrite away. Much though I loved it and much though I wanted to keep it, this newer one has some advantages. For one thing, this is something that will affect some of you. When you want to move up and down, you've got A, S, D and W. If you press the red new key and A, it'll take you left by one word at a time. If you do the W, it'll take you up a line, it'll take you up a paragraph, I think it is at a time. If you do Shift and A, it'll take you sideways by one letter at a time. And similarly, S, D and W. So it gives you that little bit of extra freedom to move around and edit if you so wish. Never used to bother me, because as far as I was concerned, this was a tool just for creating. I didn't want to have to think about editing. I wanted to just think about how my story was going to develop and move on. Now, what's happened is that, and the reason why I'm talking about it today is because Freewrite have asked me to beta test some new software. Now, being a beta tester means basically you just play with it and see if there's any problems that you need to highlight to the manufacturer. And I can honestly say, nope, had no problems whatsoever. What I have noticed, however, is that there is a radical difference with this. Now, one thing that people have said to me in the past when I've wittered on happily about new free writes, they've said, well, that's great, but the screen's not a standard liquid crystal, it's an e-ink screen. So as you type, there's a time lag. And yes, there is. I've noticed that myself, especially with the older one, there was a delay. But to be absolutely honest, if you're not editing, you're not looking at the screen all the time to see where you might have made a typo. You're staring into the middle distance and your fingers are doing the work, at least in my case. So that never bothered me. I know a lot of people said that it slowed them down because they typed up, looked down, and it was still catching up with their typing. Oh, okay. Different people have different approaches to writing and so on, and some people find that's the case. So look at this then. If I just type, it's as near instantaneous now as it could be. And apparently what they've done is Freewrite have taken the standard Freewrite and they've gone through all of the coding that drives the screen and they've tightened it. Not only does that mean that you get this much faster refresh rate on the screen, it also means that the quality of the characters themselves, I think, is vastly superior. Now you can adjust the size of the characters. You can get them quite large, you can get them very small, however you want. If you want them very large, you get fewer words on the screen. If you want them very small, you get lots more words on the screen. Shocking, I know. But the other thing is that if you hit the special key down here, it will tell you, in this case, what the date is. It'll tell you how many words you've typed. It'll tell you what the time is. It will tell you what the time is in a different format. You can time yourself. It gives you all sorts of different functions. You can also, if you want, go into file management now on the Freewrite itself. So you don't have to just suck everything onto your computer. You can go and fiddle around with your files as you want here. That's nice. You can turn the backlight off and on. But those are all things that were consistent with the old Freewrite. In the same way, you can, if you want, plug this straight through to your computer and it becomes just an extra disk drive. So on your computer, you can suck whatever you want from the Freewrite straight onto your computer. If you get the, let me remind myself what it's called. Can't think what it's called. It's not Freewrite Plus, but they have a different facility which only costs something like $4 a month. It's not exactly a huge amount of money. And for that, that means you can synchronize everything on your Freewrite and your computer. So you can write on your Freewrite, get back home, pull it up on your computer, edit, manipulate, whatever, and then send it back to the Freewrite so that next time you go out, you can edit it again or carry on typing or whatever you want to do. That, I think, is really good. That sounds like a brilliant tool. I did actually, like a fool, buy that so I could test it for myself last time I was away with the Smithsonian. And that brilliant idea of mine was rather blown away by the fact that I didn't take this Freewrite with me. I took my Alpha, which is another machine that I very much like. The only trouble is that this particular bit of software doesn't work on the Alpha. It only works on the original Freewrite and the Traveller, I think, as well. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. And in the end, I cancelled that because, well, I knew I wasn't going to be going away for a long time. I was going to be at home, so what was the point of it, really? But I've been asked, well, which of the different Astro House machines do you like? Because there's the Freewrite, there's the Traveller, which is a sort of clamshell design. It folds in half, you open it up, it's got an e-ink screen on the top, it's got a keyboard below, with very good scissor switches. And then there's also the Alpha, which is a non-foldable version, and it comes with a liquid crystal screen. I was sent the Traveller, I quite enjoyed it, I sent it back. I was sent an Alpha, and I was told I could keep it, so I did. And I've taken it with me a few times when I've been away with Smithsonian and so on. But I'm not going to take it again, because this does absolutely everything I want. And the main thing is, it has this fabulous keyboard. The keyboard is superb. The screen is stunning. I can read that in bright sunshine. I can read it anywhere. The weight of it, it's not heavy, but it's heavy enough. You can put it on your lap and you can type immediately. Because it sits there. It's firm in. It's heavy enough to sit there solidly. There's no computer screen to open up. So you think about a laptop. You open up the screen, which is almost invariably glass, and then as you type, the screen is trying to pull it away. So you have to use the balls of your hands to hold the base plate of the laptop so it doesn't flip up and fall on the ground. This has nothing like that. This just sits flat on your lap and you can type really easily and you can read that screen from just about any angle. Over here you've got the Wi-Fi on-off and so you've got off, you've got work with Wi-Fi, you've got find a new Wi-Fi. Brilliant. You've got 3 different folders you can use. Now I must admit, I don't worry about that. I just type whatever folder I'm in. I used to try to be clever and have A for articles, B for books, and C for other stuff like correspondence. It sort of makes sense, ABC. But to be quite honest, nah. I just use it whatever I've got at the time. It's practical. It's a little bit weighty. I think it's good to look at. It's a real conversation starter when you're out and about, especially sitting on a train. I've said many times, but my first experience of this was I have still a MacBook Air, which I don't think I've turned on in about 4 years. And it's a beautiful piece of design. I love it. And it's absolutely useless for typing on. The keyboard is, pardon my French, the keyboard is crap. I don't like scissor switches. It's one of the reasons why the Traveller went back. But with this, you've got a real dedicated keyboard. You can type on it much faster, and you want to type on it. So I used to travel up to London quite regularly when I was the chairman of the Crime Writers Association. And when I did so, I would take my wonderful little Apple laptop, and some days I managed to get 350 words typed up on it. I took this Freewrite with me, and the very first trip up to London and back I got over 3,500 words typed. And they were good words. Some were different. No, seriously, I could actually use this. I could lose myself in the computer and just type and get things done, which I could never do with a laptop. I spent too much time thinking about emails, surfing the web, and ye gods, these keys are horrible. And that's another thing, is that when you look at this, it's what, £500 now, I think. I was talking to a dear friend yesterday, Jenny. I took it to show her in a coffee shop. And she said, "Ooh, that's nice." And I said, "Yeah, well, you know, it's one of those things. It's a really good tool for writers." And she said, "Well, Interestingly, she said her computer had just died and she was going to have to get herself another laptop. And she was looking at spending something like £370. This would cost more than that. But, as I said, one train journey, 350 words compared to 3,500. That's the difference. This is like a 1980s word processor. It is designed for people to type on. And because of that, it is exceptionally good, exceptionally functional, and it really does a lovely job. Now, out of interest, I've been talking to BYOK, Bring Your Own Keyboard, and I've been playing with their software a bit on my computer screen. And that is a very interesting company too. And I'm looking forward to having a play with one of their devices. Don't know when I'm going to see it, but they have promised me one to test. So I look forward to giving you an update on comparing a BYOK compared to a Freewrite. It's going to be very interesting actually for me. I don't know whether it will be for you. But anyway, I hope that was moderately interesting. Please don't bother putting a comment down the bottom saying, ah yes, but a laptop would be so much cheaper. Yes, it would. And it also wouldn't be anything like as effective for me as a writer. This, as an author, is a godsend. It's wonderful. And there you go. Right, that's all for now, folks. I've got a ton of work to do. I've got to finish the edits on this latest book. I've got to write the next book in my Holy Wars series. I've got to plan and prepare for a podcast, by which I mean I am thinking of creating a podcast. What else? Oh dear, I've got to do a Patreon link for this weekend. I've got to make a series of changes to Amazon and BookBub to update them. I've got to change my website. I've got enough work to keep me going for the next 5 years. And I'm supposed to be retiring. Like that's going to happen. Right, hope that was interesting. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.